But first, to the Channel, where Labour would accept migrants from the European Union as part of a proposed deal with Brussels to stop the small boats crisis. Now, the plan emerged after Keir Starmer arrived in The Hague, visiting the EU Agency for Law Enforcement Cooperation. Under the burden-sharing system, Britain would be obliged to find homes for thousands of asylum seekers who land in places like Greece and Italy after crossing the Mediterranean. And in return, the UK would send back a quota of Channel migrants who arrive on the south coast illegally. So earlier, the Health Secretary, Steve Barclay, claimed the plan was tantamount to surrendering control of our immigration policy.
If you look at the number actually coming into the EU, the scale of those numbers are such that it would require the UK to take a very high number as part of that quota deal. So, of course, if there was a returns agreement, that would provide a deterrent. But the cost of that would be letting the EU decide on that number.
Well, Starmer also vowed to crack down on people smuggling gangs, announcing that they would be treated like terrorists under his government. As an alternative to the Tories' faltering Rwanda plan, Labour plans to establish an elite cross-border crime unit to disrupt trafficking supply chains. Well, I mean, the thing is, they've tried and tried and tried again. This is my view. They've tried and tried and tried again. Nothing's happening. Nothing changes. The same, more and more people are coming across. At least this feels like something where, you know, despite the fact that we have Brexited, we are still part of Europe as a whole.
Yeah.
And therefore, this seems to me to be a kind of, at least it's something, at least they're looking at something that isn't saying the same old stuff.
Well,
I think this is actually
Sorry, can
worse.
I just... Oh, God, I just wanted to ask Fear. Okay.
Sorry.
No,
I feel like if this is the Labour Party saying that perhaps they will create more safe routes and saying
Yes,
that we
if
have
that's
a
what
quota
they're saying, yeah.
and we will definitely accept, I don't know, X, 10, 20, whatever the number is.
as long as we can send others back.
Yeah, well, hopefully that will encourage people to take that route rather than paying people traffickers and potentially losing their lives and coming across that way.
And coming across anyway.
But that's not what's happening, because we have to look
Okay.
at the figures. So under the EU's, so this collaboration with the EU, we'd have to take 120,000 migrants. Now, over the past 5 years, between 2018 and now, we've only had over, well, not only, but we've had over 100,000 migrants across the Channel, which is the population of Solihull, which I'm sure you're familiar with. Now, if we're taking in 120,000 migrants a year, this basically flies in the face of the whole Stop the Boats campaign, which I must admit the Tories haven't gotten very far in tackling. And also there is the question of what was the point of this? Because it's not like we're accepting EU migrants. We're accepting people crossing the Mediterranean illegally and then taking on our fair share. This is not a kumbaya party. No one agreed
Except that they arrive in Europe and then
also
they make
illegally,
their
by
way.
the way,
Yes,
because you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to cross the Mediterranean and risk your life, by the way. You're not allowed to cross the Mediterranean and end up in somewhere like Italy and expect actually the EU has its
If you're seeking asylum,
and maybe end up in Sweden or Germany.
if you are an asylum seeker, then it's...
But they're all asylum seekers.
Yeah, exactly.
Yes, I know, but it's about whether we call them asylum seekers, whether we call them economic migrants, and also illegality. Well, hold on a second, if they're all illegal, how can we accept so many of them? It all becomes incredibly complicated. And I suppose my point on this is we've tried to do it one way, at least
But how
somehow...
is taking more the solution? I mean, I genuinely believe this is going to go down like a house on fire, especially in the Red Wall. Because if you're telling them the solution is to accept more, basically the population that we've already accepted in a 5-year period, over 1 year, when already our asylum system is broken, 80% of asylum seekers that are accepted as refugees are sent to just 5 cities, major cities across the UK, which, again, just shows how broken the system is. You're now telling them, actually, we're going to take the number we accept in 5 years, in 1 year, every year from now on, and we're going to have to foot the bill for that.
I'm afraid, Esther,
how does that make
Esther's
sense?
completely right. The maths doesn't add up.
Maths not mathing.
It's, again, I know I hate this phrase, but moving the deck chairs on the Titanic.
Yeah.
Starmer, who is, for me, fur coat and no knickers, that guy. That's all it is, right?
That is quite a visual.
That is an image I didn't need in my head.
He's saying this rhetoric and he's making it sound, actually, that could work. We'll take some so we can give some back.
We'll take more than we've ever accepted in 5 years.
You saw the 7,000 people coming across the boats on the Italian island Lampedusa.
Lampedusa, yes.
It's an absolute scene. So if we do what Starmer says, essentially, we're going to have more people. And the ones who are rejected will just jump on a small boat and try and come regardless.
Yeah, so it's not making sense.
I suppose,
No.
yes, oh, you're right. Yeah. But then that's the thing about discussions, isn't it? So, I mean, we come back to the same old thorny issue.
What is the solution?
What is the solution? And
Yeah.
particularly, hold on a second, particularly because more and more of this sort of thing will happen as global warming,
change,
we get climate change, and there will be large areas where people can no longer actually even live.
But here's the thing. I don't agree with that entirely, but here's the point. The solution is, I agree with the safe and legal routes aspect because that allows you to turn more people away.
Yes.
At the moment, we accept double the amount upon first double the amount of double the rate upon first application of asylum seekers than the EU. So of course they're going to take their chances to come to the UK. But if the argument is, well, actually coming across the boat is not illegal, which it actually is because it's not a verified port of entry. That's the that's the definition of illegal. We're not calling people illegal.
These are illegal routes.
We're calling the way they enter illegal. If we are not actually tackling that, of course they're going to try and take their chances. So we need to turn more of them away, which means it makes it harder to actually be successful upon an asylum application. And we need to just say, I'm sorry, no one signed up to take up 120,000 migrants a year because that's just going to encourage them.
Even Germany suspended their deal with Italy.